Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of SDIntensityFantasyFootball.com. Hope you all are staying safe out there on this Veterans Day. I'd like to make a shout out to all you veterans out there. I was in the Marine Corps myself, so it was a great day to rest and see everybody, visit with some people on the phone, and it was just a great overall day to have some peace. So what do we have on our mind? Little fantasy football week 10 in the NFL. And what I'd like to talk about right now is if your team is struggling and you're going to the waiver wire and trying to figure out who to pick up, there's three people that I had in mind that are available in roughly 50% of Yahoo Fantasy Football leagues. And that first person I'd like to discuss is J.D. McKissick. I feel like McKissick is a good play this week because, as you know, the gruesome injury last week to Kyle Allen. We have Alex Smith coming in for the Washington football team, and one of his favorite targets of late has been J.D. McKissick. He's been targeted over a dozen times. He's Alex Smith safety valve, and they seem to have kind of a rapport. And I'm looking for J.D. McKissick, who's available again in 50% of Yahoo leagues, to come through again for Alex Smith. The second player that I like to discuss is Sterling Shepard, wide receiver for the New York Giants. If you're looking for a wide receiver, I think it would behoove you to look Sterling Shepard's way. He's available also in about 50% of Yahoo Fantasy Football leagues. He's running 1A and 1B to Darius Slayton right now. He's been targeted a lot of times, and since his return from injury, he's scored in double-digit fantasy points in each of those three games, which we love. He This past week he had 11.7 points PPR, and that's been the lowest he's gone. He's been the range is between 11 and 17, and I think that's what we could expect from him again this weekend. The last person that I like for you guys to take a look at is Austin Hooper, the tight end for the Cleveland Browns. He was really coming on strong, and then as you guys know, he had that appendectomy. But last week during the Browns bye, he did return to practice, and we expect him to play here in Week 10. Again, available in over 50% of leagues. We all know how jacked up this year that the tight end position is. It's really hard to trust anybody who's not named Travis Kelce, or one of the big names like that to kind of produce for you. But I believe Austin Hooper is one of those guys that you can be very you could depend on him for some steady production if that's what you're looking for in your lineup. The second topic that I would like to discuss is I watched the Cardinals game this past weekend, and it struck me. Kyler Murray had a big game. He had 38 points PPR. Just a huge game for a quarterback, I thought. And when I thought about how he came into the league and everything, it got me thinking. I've been watching football since the 70s. I grew up with Dan Fouts, saw Dan Marino, Elway, and all these things. And it was very rare for me to see a quarterback come right in and just take over like he's done without sputtering much. Kyler, since he's come into the league, he's done very well. He doesn't look like, first or second year guy. To me, he looks like a seasoned veteran. And I think that is going to be part of more of the norm now in the NFL. Back when I was growing up and watching the National Football League, those guys were the quarterbacks. They would get drafted by a team and they would sit for a few years behind somebody. The greatest example that I can think of is when the old San Diego Chargers had Drew Brees and they drafted Phillip Rivers. Brees was a starter. Phillip sat behind him, I think, for at least 2 years. I think it was 3 seasons. And then Drew, I think in 2005, got hurt. And then they did not re-sign him. He went to New Orleans. I remember there was chatter of him going to the Miami Dolphins. I always think about what would life have been like if Drew Brees would have ended up in Miami, if he would have stayed down there or what have you. But he ended up going to New Orleans and winning a championship, and the rest is kind of history. But I thought it was pretty amazing that Kyler Murray was just able to come in and just, kind of just take off. A lot of these guys that we've seen that come in even after being in the league a few years, Ben DiNucci, they come in and they struggle. That other guy, Buffalo Bills, a while back, his name was Nathan Peterman. He came in and there was he had some pretty high expectations about him too, and he kind of struggled there for a while. Especially that first game, that 5 interceptions in one half and all that. So I think that's going to be the norm now for these quarterbacks. They're going to get drafted and come right in. I'm very interested to see next year Trevor Lawrence, if he ends up with the Jets or whoever he ends up with, if he's just going to come right in and take off, or if he ends up going to the New York Jets, if he'll sit behind Sam Darnold for a little while, or how they treat that situation. To me, it'll be very interesting how that all goes. The last thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about is value. As you look at your rosters, how much value do you have on your rosters? Like when you drafted, where did you reach for people? Did you get people later than you expected? I had some really good values when I looked up and down my roster. I ended up getting Dalvin Cook in the first round with the 10th pick. He slid all the way down to number 10, and now it's crazy that he's the leading rusher in the NFL. It's just ironic that I think about those 9 other teams that passed on him, and I know that there was a lot of people that they were drafting on potential. I know that Clyde Edwards-Helaire was very high on a lot of people's lists because of that potential. He looks the part. He's a great-looking running back. But, the thing that I wanted to bring up with you guys is, what are you going to draft on next year? Are you going to draft on production, or are you going to draft on potential? I think it's okay to draft on potential as you get into those later rounds, but you really, to build the solid core of your team, you want to build on production, on those proven commodities. I imagine next year going in the first round, it'll be Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook. For wide receivers, I bet you DK Metcalf will be right up there. Maybe even Tyler Lockett, might move all the way up into the second round maybe. There's going to be a lot of people there because, you want to look at volume during your draft. You want to look at, who's getting the ball. Terry McLaurin from Washington football team. We don't hear too much about him, but that guy, he just quietly goes about his business and he produces. So who do you want? Do you want producers or do you want potential? I think a lot of the people in the league that I'm playing in this year, they drafted a lot on potential, and we see how that worked out for them. It has not worked out very well at all. And then to me, the compound the problem is they're dropping people, people that are still viable. They've been on IR, but not the long-term IR. People just getting desperate, reaching, dropping solid performers, and then, watching the waiver wire and being able to pick people right up has really been a help. Then not only that, too, made some timely trades. I think trades are so important. I think that if you're not always looking to improve your team, I think you're wrong as a fantasy manager. I think you always have to be looking on waivers, anticipating, who might be the next Travis Fulgham, the next Chase Claypool, trying to anticipate. I always have to go back to Alvin Kamara, when are you going to find the next Alvin Kamara? And it's because you're going to do your research and you're going to look at injuries and who may be moving up depth charts. And a lot of you guys are big college football fans, and you guys know what some of these people have done in college, even these Division II colleges. Some of these athletes are big time, and then they come into the NFL and they're kind of, sitting there third or fourth on depth charts, a couple of injuries, and then all of a sudden, bam, they're like Antonio Gibson, and now you're the starting running back of the Washington football team. Holy cow, and you're finally getting your chance in the NFL. So it's all very interesting to me, but I'd like to invite you guys to think about production versus potential. I think it's a very interesting argument, and one that we could discuss a little bit later on in future episodes. So thanks for tuning in today, and I appreciate all the support for the channel. You guys finding me and everything. I was in the Marine Corps for 20 years. I'm a proud Marine. I love talking football with you guys. Just appreciate all the support and everything, all the likes on the photo. Me and the family were able to celebrate yesterday with we had a little Marine Corps birthday cake brought in, and we were able to eat some cake together, and we told some old war stories and everything, and it was definitely relaxing, and it was a lot of fun. So if you guys are finding yourself stuck, you don't know, somebody offered you a trade and you don't quite know what to do. Maybe you have a lot of injuries on your team. You don't know quite who to reach out for on waivers. Bring those questions here to SD Intensity Fantasy Football. So far on the season, I'm 9-0, looking for the big 10th win this week, going up against an opponent. He's in 7th place right now in the league, hoping to make that big 10-0. I'm really excited. This is the longest winning streak I've ever had in fantasy football, and I've decided right now I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna try to go undefeated, see if I can bring this money, this title home. I'm real excited for this week to come up. It's gonna be fun. I've done my homework. I think I've got my lineup set, and I'm ready to go. So again, appreciate all your guys' support for the channel, and as always, be fierce and be strong. And until next time, take care and be safe out there. Good night, everybody.